So first of all, I just want to talk about students will naturally, when they see a casual relief teacher come into the classroom, they're naturally going to behave differently. And usually that differently is challenging behaviour. So the first one, and probably the most critical, is the line-up. So when the students are lining up outside their classroom, this is a great place, or the best place, to start showing them how you want them to behave. So generally, you'll find that the students who line up at the start of the line are the well-behaved students, and gradually as it works its way down to the back of the line, generally those will be the challenging students. That said, what I will do is I will announce to the line what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be, for example, when you come inside, you're going to silently read or do some free drawing until I've marked the roll. So then I'll let in about half the class, and then I'm going to stop about the remaining other half, and I'm going to talk to them as well. So I'm going to say the same thing, but because I know that they probably haven't really listened and taken on what I've said, they're just going to go in and most likely just do whatever they want to do. I will say to them, when you go inside, you're going to put your bag away, grab a book or grab some paper and do some silent reading or some drawing until I've marked the roll. So what happens is when those students go into the classroom, they should see the first half working really well, and then hopefully they'll just continue on. When you come inside and you see that there's students that are just mucking around, you can just say, 1, 2, 3, you need to line up outside again and try that one again. So this is the chance for you to really show how you will direct the class and how you want your day to go, not the other way around. Okay, the second thing is the introduction. So the introduction to your class, so you've got your the agenda written up on the board. What I usually talk about are the school values. So they usually revolve around things like respect, responsibility, ready to learn, those types of things. So I say to them, now that I'm in your school, I need to abide by those values, as do you. And you could ask some questions to the class like, what is responsibility? What does respect mean? Those sorts of things. So they know that you know what the school expects. Another thing is I will usually mention how I have received an email from their teacher, and I try and figure out who their teacher is. So Mrs. Robbins emailed me this morning and gave me today's agenda. So we've got a lot of work to work through, and I'm going to report back to her and let her know how the day went, who did well and who were making bad choices. Whether or not that's true or not, it doesn't matter. It's just to let the students know that you are in direct contact with their teacher, and that can work to your advantage. The third thing is be neutral. So initially, the first, however long you think it's appropriate, and I'll usually do at least the first half of the day, I'm neutral. So I'm not showing too much of my personality. I've sort of got a professional hat on because I'm such a relaxed sort of person. I'm a bit chilled. I don't want them to take that into their own interpretation and they're going to be too relaxed and not do any work. So I'm going to come in fairly neutral, not too, ecstatic, not too relaxed, sort of in the middle. And I think that's the best way to be initially until you get to know those students. The fourth thing, I've found this in most classrooms, in almost every classroom, it's inevitable that there's going to be at least 1 to 3 challenging students. My thing is not to butt heads with them. I don't want to get straight on them and be mean to them. So my idea is, because I don't yet have relationships with the students yet, I don't know what makes them tick. With those challenging students, I'll usually try and get to know them. So find out what what sport they like, what music they like. Try and come down somewhat to their level. And you're not going to know everything because, trends change so quickly. But at least find something you can, chat about. Okay, the fifth thing is my fast finisher activities. So they are, generally I'll have pre-photocopied some word searches and some mindfulness colouring in pages. So I'll have that ready for them, because what I find is the class can get a bit chaotic when some students have finished their work early, and then as more and more students finish their work, it can get even more noisy and chaotic in the classroom. So what I've found is you need to keep them busy. You need them to have things that they can go onto, and usually things they can go onto without you having to tell them that they need to do, this, even though it's up on the board. Sometimes they don't always follow that. So, but a simple thing is the fast finishes. So, if students have finished work, you can go around and say, okay, you finished? Yep. All right, now you're up to your fast finishes, and then you ask them, which one are you going to do? Because, having a choice, not being told you need to do silent reading, if they have a choice of a couple of things, then, they feel like they're making the decision and not you. The next thing is number 6 is a smiley face, sad face table or column on the board. So I'll just put up a little picture just here about that. So it's basically you just draw up a column, and on the left side of it, you have your smiley face and then your sad face. As students are doing the right thing through the day, you can start writing up those students who are working well. Kids love to see their name up on the board. I'll usually say to them, okay, John, can you go pop your name up on the board? A really quick way of acknowledging the good students and pointing out people that need to sort of start doing their work. Next one, that sort of rolls into the number 7, which is acknowledging good behaviour. So it's the best thing you can do, a simple thank you to students or thank you to a group of students. So if you're walking around, you can tap on the table and say, great work, guys. This is brilliant. You're on track. Keep it up. As much as that's simple to you and I, to them it means the world. Like, you acknowledging them, everyone wants to feel important. So you're doing that. You're making them. You're encouraging them. With the thanking, I usually like to give students a bit of responsibility. So, and even those challenging students, so you can say, what I want you to do is, are you able to organise the PE lesson I've got this afternoon? Giving them that responsibility takes their focus away from, doing making bad choices into thinking about something else. So if you can say to them, look, I need you to organise this afternoon's sport. I want you to organise this game. You're going to be organising choosing of the teams, etc. So that's a great way of getting around those challenging students, give them responsibility. Number 8 is the reward system. So a lot of schools will have their own reward system in place. They'll have, dojo points, or it could be a school system where they get a number of points, and at the end of the term they can trade those in for, different treats and things like that. So try and find out what the school's reward system or the classroom's reward system is and go from there. If you don't know and if you don't have time, then a simple way to do it is, free time. So if you guys can work well, in this afternoon's session, we could have, 20 minutes of free time. Kids love that, and that's something they can work towards. The 9th tip I've got is my 3 strike rule. So basically, it's the first strike is a verbal warning. So if a student's, calling out, or they're running around the classroom or something silly, verbal sort of statement. So you tell them what they're doing and then what they should be doing. The second one is moving them to a different location in the classroom. And I won't say too much. I'll say, okay, you need to move now. And that's it. And they might say where. You can say, there's a table over there. I want you to go sit over there. When they've moved, you should have a chat with them after that. Tell them, come down to their level, say, I know you're excited, but we're here to do this. You can see the class has already started. I need you to get started on your work. It could be a learning difficulty, so you may need to just help them with the activity. They may not have understood what was said. So just find out if you can quickly, of what the problem is, or if it's just they just don't want to do it, then having them somewhere else will probably help. And the third strike is dependent on, I guess, the school and the class again, but usually you could do a lunch or recess detention with them. They might have to go to the office, or you might have to write up like an incident report, and then that goes to the office, and the office decides what the outcome's going to be, or a buddy classroom. So a lot of schools I've noticed have another buddy classroom. If you can find out, from a student in the class what's the other buddy classroom, if that student's, you've given them the third warning, they've moved, and now they just keep going, you can say, all right, I need you to, grab these things. So you try and give them some work to do. You need to go to the buddy classroom. And the teacher in there has been assigned or knows why they're there. Pretty much guaranteed when the student does come back after being there for a period of time, they're going to come back to you quite a different student. So they're going to probably be a bit remorseful and most likely just get into doing their work. Something that you don't have much time to do, and as a reason why students sort of, you might have a challenging day. It's basically you don't know them, you don't have that relationship. I've mentioned it earlier, so just start getting to know the students. If you have lunch and you don't have a duty, I'll sometimes go and play handball with the students, or just go around and chat to a few kids. Just being out there, other kids seeing you, they don't know who you are, or they might have seen glimpses of you. So they want to get to know you. So be open for them to come and talk to you. And the last thing is, those problem students are often students with problems. So I remember that every time with a challenging kid, it may not necessarily be their fault that they're acting up, but if you can just be there, be respectful, try and get to know them, don't butt heads with them, it's just not worth it. And just try and build that positive relationship. Be that role model that they may or may not have at home. I think that's the best way forward. All right, thanks for watching. If you've got any comments or tips, please leave those below. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.